great when it works. It's in. There we are. Hello, everyone, and welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing live show number 153 on the last Friday, the 13th of 2018, which means nothing to us because we have the pleasure of actually having the man, the myth, the legend of hospitality, one of my dearest friends out of all of this. Whoop, I have myself an echo, sorry. Here, I have to turn this down. I have it on audio. I haven't changed over yet. Mr. Max Starkov, who is the founder and director of Hebs Digital, and I'm sorry, I forget the second company all of a sudden, the technology.
Next Guest Technologies.
Next Guest, gosh, it's new for me because you've always been Hebs for me. It's never been more than that. So for me, it's just like Max is Hebs. That's what it's always been. So it's been one of those things. But I cannot begin to tell you what a joy it is to finally get you on the show because I know historically we have had. I've always enjoyed our conversations when we were on the Digital Marketing Council together all these past years. I actually tried to entice Paolo Torchio to join us. I sent him an email just so you know. I says I was trying to get the band back together because we had some of the liveliest, I think, some of the best creative conversations when the three of us were kind of bouncing between our dialogue. So thank you so much, Max, for being on the show. And really, literally, anything you want to talk about, it would be a joy to talk about it. So please go right ahead.
Okay, hello everyone, and I'm really, really privileged to be here. Lauren mentioned I'm founder and director. I stepped aside from being the CEO, president and CEO of Hebs Digital and Next Guest Technologies. Simply, 40 years spent in hospitality, it was about time for me to step aside and to devote more time on reading, on writing. I have published more articles since the beginning of the year compared to any other year in the past, and simply because I have more time now. And also, I'll be teaching hospitality in hospitality technology at NYU School of Hospitality beginning this fall. So nice. That's what Excellent. I'm doing right now. And actually, talking about the beginning of Lauren's I would say introduction. I think that technology in hospitality has evolved so tremendously over the last years, and rightfully so. Our industry is, I would say, quite confused as to what are the priorities, what are these technology innovations that we have to pay attention to, we have to embrace today versus 5 years from now or 10 years from now. I published a article on blockchain, and I received vicious comments saying that I don't understand how technology will change distribution in hospitality, how blockchain technology will change distribution in hospitality, and how blockchain will serve this very noble purpose of creating a commissionless distribution in hospitality. This will be the end of the OTAs and so forth. And I just took a step back and said, guys, there's something wrong in our understanding how technology works. I mean, in our industry, we have, first of all, so many legacy systems. I mean, think about how the hotel inventory moves through the channels. PMS, and then CRS, and of course you have a revenue management system that helps with the pricing, and then you have channel managers, you have GDS for the traditional travel agent distribution, you have the OTAs, you have of course all of the website booking engines and so forth. But all of these legacy systems, to a great extent, you have some new players with new cloud-based technology. But legacy systems that talk to other legacy systems that do not want to talk to other legacy systems and so forth, with very complex APIs that sometimes work, sometimes don't work, and so forth. So in this sense, it's a complete quagmire of, I would say, technology flow of hotel inventory, if you will. And replacing all of this with blockchain technology is naturally, first of all, very ambitious. I'm using a very polite word here. a very ambitious undertaking on one hand. On the other hand, it will be extremely expensive. So who pays for that? Owners. Owners don't want to pay for such new technology innovations, especially when if you do the math, they will be replacing existing, already sunk costs, if you will, in the existing PMS and CRS and channel managers and so forth systems, or building interfaces between blockchain and let's say the existing CRSs and channel managers and so forth. Ultimately, this will not be a commissionless distribution. It will not be a, I would say, free distribution for hotels. On the contrary, it will involve tremendous expenditure. And of course, I mean, talking about blockchain, there's so many, I would say, negative sides of blockchain. For example, I'll give you one very simple example. Typically, hotel reservations are instantaneous. We are long past 1995 when sending a reservation request online was kind of accepted. People want, after they have done all this extensive research, the dreaming phase, the planning phase, they have entered the booking phase, they have been to 18 websites, 8 different sessions. That's Google research, the traveler journey, if you will. And then, they finally have decided to book. Once they select the rooms, the hotels, they have read all the reviews, they select the rooms, they book. What happens? They want an instantaneous confirmation. With blockchain, each transaction has to be approved, if you will, by at least 6 miners, blockchain gatekeepers. The average time for each of the approvals is approximately 10 minutes today. That's simply the blockchain system is clogged. And so the minimum, this will be 1 hour for approval of the reservation. So basically you have to wait an hour. And most often, this could extend as much as 16 hours because of the so many blockchain transactions. All the miners are overworked, the bandwidth is practically gone, and sometimes approval of a simple transaction takes as much as 12, 14, 16 hours a day.
Jeez.
That's just one of the. This is just one of the, I would say, downsides of blockchain for distribution, and of course the other side. I mean, there are many. People can read my article, but the whole point is that there are many downsides, and one of them is the permanent character of a blockchain transaction. I mean, we know in hospitality that up to 30% of reservations are being canceled, or being changed, or being amended. And I mean, hotels are trying to work around this by introducing advanced bookings, non-refundable bookings, by introducing certain perks that are available only if you book, let's say, on the hotel website, free Wi-Fi, early check-in, late check-out, and so forth. All of these add-ons, value add-ons. And one of the main reasons is, yes, hotels would prefer travelers to book on the hotel website as opposed to the OTAs. But another, I would say, major reason for all of these perks is to limit or decrease the number of cancellations, which is truly plaguing the industry. This is like a big issue today, especially with high occupancy hotels, high occupancy destinations like New York City. Having up to 30% cancellation on the day of arrival is a major hit to the bottom line. So, Corey, how are you? It's
I'm
good to see you.
fantastic. How are you?
Good.
Sorry I'm late. I thought we were full, so I wasn't going to be joining. I had to go and do my hair.
Oh, me too. I was a little late. I was doing my hair as well, Holly. Can't you tell?
Whatever, Robert. But don't you think, I don't know this, but don't you think blockchain is going to speed up? I mean,
no. Okay.
It will speed up. It can speed up, of course, with the advancement of technologies. I mean, IBM blockchain platform is using the IBM cloud in order to really facilitate the use of blockchain technology. And blockchain has its own, I would say, applications in hospitality. For example, blockchain can serve a major hotel brand. Just imagine. Marriott deals with tens of thousands of vendors in hundreds of geographies worldwide. How do you deal with this vendor? It's the whole supply chain. Blockchain can really revolutionize the supply chain with secure contracts, with again where the goods are, all of the various steps of the blockchain, so that all of this becomes a manageable, if you will, global system. That's one application of blockchain. Secure contracts, franchisee contracts, vendor contracts, all of the legal, Wi-Fi contract for whatever hotel and so forth. All of these, they have like tens of a typical full-service Marriott has in the hundreds different contracts with different vendors and entities and suppliers and users and local, preferred corporate rate contracts and so forth. So we're talking about contracts in the hundreds and thousands in some cases. So blockchain can easily step in and manage this. That's definite. And then in the future, digital IDs managed by the blockchain definitely is something that will apply not only in hospitality, but in many other e-commerce industry, where you have a unique digital ID residing on the blockchain, and then it can be shared with potential users of this digital ID, or whenever you, as the consumer, would like to transact, for example, with a hotel or with Amazon or with any online retailer and so forth. So, but all of this is an application for blockchain that I believe are very viable and could happen in our industry very quickly. But to use blockchain for distribution simply and to try to make it work, it simply doesn't work. And then again, just to continue the permanent character of the reservation, where once you transact on blockchain, it becomes a permanent record of this transaction. In order for you to amend this transaction, let's say, oh, guys, I'm arriving not on the same day, I'm arriving on the following day, or I'm arriving, now I want a double as opposed to king room, and so forth. Any amendment of existing reservation means that the old reservation has to be completely scrapped, and then you have to make a completely new reservation, again with all of the credit card guarantees and so forth, and all the information. So the per character, the blockchain transaction is what is against the very nature of our very liquid, very fluid hotel inventory reservation process.
Well, so and it's worse. And it's worse than that from a cost perspective, because every modification, you're going to pay the same amount to post that to the blockchain. And we're just talking about the booking transaction. What about all the inventory that everybody's talking about? Oh, well, all the inventory, that means all the availability for all the lengths of stay and all the rate plans and how all that interacts. Exactly. Every time one of those changes, you're paying to post. So my approach to the blockchain, and I'm not a blockchain fan. I am a distributed ledger fan. The distributed ledger, those technologies will radically change the industry. But right now with the blockchain, the problem is if you only have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, right? And that's exactly what they're doing. Right? Yeah. They've got a blockchain, so they're just going to be, hammer. It's like, no, you need a screwdriver, you need a level, you need something else to do this stuff. But, get some nails.
I agree. But Robert, this comes to tell you that in our industry, we love buzzwords. We are an industry of buzzwords. And because we have so many issues, I mean, just imagine the issues in our industry from pure technology, from data management. I mean, we have data islands. It's like islands in the stream. I mean, you have data islands for guests, for their behavior at the property, for their behavior on the website, for their behavior, pre and post and so forth. Which, again, you don't have a 360-degree view of the customer, and all of this. Data silos are like killing the industry, I would say. The technology, legacy systems, and so forth. So when a new buzzword appears, like blockchain, and everybody jumps on the blockchain bandwagon and says, "Oh my God, this will resolve all of our issues, from distribution to catering to how we pay our personnel." Blockchain will even, I read an article, that blockchain will even solve once and for all, listen to this, the churn factor in our industry. I mean, that typically 20% churn factor in hospitality is like the norm right now in this economy where practically everybody is employed. Whoever wants to work is employed, and there are nearly 1 million jobs that there are no takers for 1 million jobs in the United States at least. And then, so many of our hospitality colleagues are jumping ship and changing jobs because they can find a better paying job or more rewarding job or even better boss, if you will. Better property, better location, less commute. So there are a lot of reasons. The whole point is that somebody was developing this theory that blockchain will solve this this issue with turnover in our industry, which again, the whole point is that
I think that the first thing that caught everyone's attention was, and I don't remember the organization, but it was a reputable organization that came out with blockchain would eliminate the OTAs. And I think that headline alone got everyone.
Well, that was Winding Tree, who had, so far has had the most successful ICO, and they have dramatically toned down, based on the input from their advisors, to stop saying ridiculously stupid things like that. Yes. Because that's what they are. And I've
actually in this Winding Tree, there's a fellow Bulgarian there, and
that's right.
As a fellow Bulgarian, I would have expected that he would at least give me a call and ask for my opinion. And I would have told him, don't touch this area. For example, tokenization in loyalty programs. Just forget about all of these stupid cards, or even there's still some, especially lower-end hotel chains that use punch cards. They use punch cards that they punch a hole.
Who uses punch cards?
Guys.
Oh no! Yeah, with the little thing where
I can give you 5 names. Yes, of hotel chains, budget hotel chains that still use punch cards. So come on, let's face it. I mean, the Choice Hotel used punch cards until 10 years ago. So why are we so surprised by that? But my whole point is that the applications, Robert, for blockchain, I believe that AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning will have a much bigger impact on our industry than blockchain, for example. And very few people are talking about AI outside of customer service, like all the chatbots, which they're working. And Booking.com, for example, claims that 60% of all of their customer service requests online are already answered by AI-powered chatbots.
I'll have to agree with that. I threw it into a property and it does the same thing. Yes.
So AI, and then by the way, by the end of the year, they expect that this percentage will rise to 80%. And I'm sure that over the next year, they will reach the current maximum, which I think it's around 90%, because there's still certain questions and issues that require human involvement. But the AI chatbot will kick up to a human these 10% of complicated cases.
Well,
but ultimately, AI is much better and much with a more immediate use, I would say, in hospitality, for customer service on one side, on the other side, data management, the old-fashioned data marketing.
Well, and
marketing, of course,
copywriting. I couldn't believe that.
Oh yeah, well, but Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, came out in January, and this is a great statement. He thinks AI is going to have a greater impact on the human race than fire and electricity, which are two pretty important technologies, I would say.
I am inclined to agree with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm inclined to agree. Well, no. And then, again, it's all relevant, because we need fire for many things.
Right.
But ultimately, AI will change the way that we function on our dear planet Earth. No doubt.
No, I believe so. Now, my bullishness for distributed ledgers is basically for the security of information. So, really using that to make your identity be very difficult to be hacked. A project that I've been involved with for decades, right, is what was called the Universal Global Identifier, which now actually is now being spoken of again, amazingly enough, but is basically to give each hotel a unique ID. So you know exactly who you're speaking with, and then all of a sudden, if you can get those identities established, and they have it be where it can be extensible, where they can then say, this is the product that I can control, not by the brands, but by the owners, right? The true operator of that, an owner of that property. Then you can start doing some very, very interesting things. I think you have some really good blockchain distributed ledger opportunities to basically make the registry of hotels the same way you have DNS, or the way ICANN uses applies to DNS, where yes, that is the internet address, and it's relatively difficult to spoof and that sort of thing. I think you can do some things there which really open up opportunities for direct bookings and the elimination of intermediaries and things. But it's huge political, tasks, to undertake that sort of thing, as Valen well knows. Welcome, Valen.
I just saw your email. I'm sorry. I think Robert probably jumped ahead of me, was able to join you, but thank you.
I did it.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Whoever did it. Thank you. Hi, Matt.
Oh, Holly.
Hey, how are you?
Thank you, Holly.
Do you think we're going to see Stuart today? Or is he in morning?
Stuart said he was looking forward to meeting Max. I was actually going to send him a note. Yeah.
He's in the
I know Ed's eating in a cabana, but I think Stuart was looking forward to join. Let me go reach out and see if I can find him real quick.
So, Robert, I want to hear. Robert, can we go back to UGI and the potential that blockchain may or may not have for that? Because
the registry,
yeah. So I had talked to you about it, a couple of weeks ago when I was in some meeting in Houston about blockchain and its potential applications in the hospitality industry. And UGI came up in this conversation, which is why I was texting you during the conversation. And you, at that point, your answer to me was quite definitive in your thought about whether or not blockchain could be used to support a registry of hotels.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it can.
Oh no, it can, because it's something that doesn't change very often. You want it to be immutable, and you have something where you have a record where if there is a mistake, you can roll back and it's all the people who need to have it. And then you say, if you're the owner of the, the Loren Gray Castle, you can say, hey, I want to go give that to whatever the highest bidder, be it Marriott or Hilton or whoever it may be, who would like to manage or represent that. And yeah, you can, all of a sudden you basically give the power back to the owners, right? Which is where it belongs, because those are the poor folks who are sitting there with, having at least 30% of their revenues extracted by various third parties and intermediaries. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's arguable where the real power resides today, but that's a different story. In theory, the owner of the asset has to have all the power. In reality, that's not the case.
Yeah, whoever pays for everything should probably have the power, would be, I think, the most equitable argument.
Right.
Yeah. But owners have certain. Going back to owners, have certain. How shall I put it? Tools at their disposal that they're not using. For example, we can argue that the current system of rewarding operators on gross room revenue is flawed and it's old-fashioned and it has to go away. Why would the operator of the hotel management company, make a certain percentage from the gross room revenue without taking into account that, for example, 60% of those revenues came from the OTAs, or 70%? The cost of goods sold, all the commissions paid, and so forth. So in this sense, restructuring those agreements, introducing incentives for operators, to reward them for direct bookings, and again, structuring the whole deal based on the net room revenue. I think that it's a very powerful tool in the hands of owners, and it will bring back power to the owners more than we are witnessing today.
That's right, because if you strip it down, you say, here's this hotel operating at this location with no branding, no nothing, right? It's just operating. Then you can say, oh, well, how much additional revenue or better efficiency, increased profitability can we have by introducing even a management company, right? Hey, these guys are professionals. They know how to run this. That's great. Yeah, there should be some, and again, that's kind of a 3% of gross revenues or something like that, which you can argue should be more or less. But then once you start getting into the franchising and branding, right, when you start getting, well, now the brands are basically, according to HVS, at about average 12% of gross room revenue goes to the brands. And what is that brand really bringing in terms of incremental business, as opposed to just having their label up there and getting the benefit from having what the hotel would have generated anyway?
I'll tell you, I mean, Robert, in average, the major hotel chains, and that's where their value is, they bring an uptick of 15% in occupancy, 15%. It's like by default.
Sure.
Independent, joining a brand, the minimum that you would see an uptick in occupancy is 15%. That's the first. Second, they introduce discipline. I would say discipline in rate and pricing discipline, which is very important, which independents typically do not have. Independents are much more weight one way or another, promotions here, whether they need to do them or not. I mean, we have had clients in the past where properties on the West Coast, on the Pacific Coast, beautiful weekend properties, sold out during the weekend, and they would have a weekend special on their website with a 15-20% discount, and they're sold out for the next 50 weekends.
Right.
That's my point. So rate discipline,
or better yet, put it on Hotwire.
But also, there's another new, and that's a new wrinkle in the story. OTA commissions with the major hotel brands are going down to the 10% level.
Right.
Already, Marriott pays 11% to booking. That's blended average commission. Pays 11.8% to Expedia. Next round of negotiations, this will go down to 10%, no doubt.
Yep.
So now we're talking about independent hotel. If you're not of any interest, like a big 1,000-room hotel in Midtown Manhattan, independent, where Expedia needs the inventory, and then they will say, okay, guys, we will go down in commission to 18%, but you will give us minimum 200 rooms a night.
Right.
For any other case, the commission is 20 to 25% of Expedia, for example, or 18%, 15, 18% Booking.com. The whole point is that all of a sudden, when you become a branded hotel or even soft-branded hotel,
right,
your commission goes down to 10.
Yeah. And
this is where I believe the major brands, and actually I have already heard sales pitches by the business development people of all the major brands, and that this is their story, to any owner. And by the way, yes, you will pay us 10, 11, 12% in franchisee fees, in marketing fees, in reservation fees. But do you know that we will cut your first of all, we will cut your OTA contribution by half, and second, we will cut your commission by half. And so it's a matter of very simple math, actually, for an owner to figure out whether they need a major brand or not.
Yeah, no, that's right, and that's a huge draw now for this particularly the soft brands, right, where they don't have to go through a bunch of.
I mean, Marriott claims that they will have 1,000 autograph collection hotels within the next 2 years. 1,000. So, and I'm sure that
and all of them have comparable. Yeah, they all have comparable numbers of just massive growth in that area. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so what's new?
Hey, I want to hear. So you aren't writing the book only OTA? Eliminate all your marketing department and only give all your inventory and everything to OTAs, Max? I thought that's what the book you were writing. Oh my God, I'm mistaken.
No.
I want to know, what is Max doing? Did we already cover it and I missed it? What's going on with you, Max?
Well, I'm repeating
besides
myself.
Your trip to Alaska.
Yeah, I'm going to Alaska next week, and I'm extremely happy because.
How'd you book that trip?
It has been on my very on the supplier website. Let's put it this way. I did not go through. I did not go through an OTA intermediary or an old-fashioned travel agency. Though, by the way, the cruise industry is still one of those industries that is lagging way behind airlines and I would say hospitality and car rental as far as direct online bookings are concerned. I mean, we had a few years back, I was speaking at a conference, and there was this lady, senior vice president of one of the major cruise lines, and she said, "We have done such an amazing job on our website. We have all of the floor plans. We have videos. We have 3D tours of each of the cabins. And you can take a virtual walk. So 85%, and we do very good surveys with our guests. So 85% of our customers come to our website, and even 15% of them book on our website.
Right.
And then
that ratio seems a little odd.
No. And then the senior vice president of Marriott at the time, he was sitting next to me on the panel, and he said, "Oh my God, if I report this to my board, they will fire me on the spot." And the microphone, it was a live microphone, so the whole audience heard the conversation. But yeah, I mean, they're still in the hands of CLIA, the cruise line international association travel agencies, these 4,000-5,000 very powerful agencies. There's no the rate parity works in the following manner. If you are a cruise line travel agency, and you want, of course, volume discounts. You're generating so much for, let's say, whatever, Carnival cruises. Mm-hmm. And Carnival gives you, okay, not 10% commission, they give you 12%, 14%, 15%. You know, the agencies that get 18%, 20%. And they turn back, and then at the expense of their commission, they offer a 5% lower rate, you know, to their clients, or 10% even lower rate. Mm-hmm. And that's how they keep their clients at the expense of their commission. So there's no like a rate parity that works both ways, like it is between OTAs and hotels. You cannot discount a Marriott rate at the expense of your commission. That's against contract,
right,
and so forth. So in this sense, so they're still they're getting there, but you know, and I understand that it's a complex product, but it's not more complex than a full service resort.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you pointed it out. I mean, CLIA is very influential and very powerful, and there's no organization like it in hospitality.
Yeah, right. But we had Aster. Actually, I was a member of Aster many years ago when I owned travel agencies and the likes. Mm. The whole point is that Aster was, come on, I mean, the president of the United States would open the Aster convention in Philadelphia and so forth. So we had the, I think that it's not, it's, the cruise line industry did not have the guts. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Having the guts to you know, to have your own strategy, distribution strategy. The same as, if you remember, there was a computer company called Compaq Computers.
Yeah.
They were the number one. Actually, it's a major Harvard Business School case study. Compaq was the number one PC manufacturer on planet Earth. When Dell appeared, then Compaq felt threatened. They put on their website a e-commerce functionality so that you can, you know, you can buy right there from Compaq.com. And then all the retailers objected, similar to CLIA, and then they took down this online retail capability on their website, and for like 3, 4, 5 years, you couldn't buy a Compaq from their website. Yeah. So the same happened, by the way, with many of the cruise line companies, because when they introduced the first booking engines on their websites, CLIA revolted, and then they took down immediately you know, this booking engine. So that's why it's called to have business guts. And they don't have it. That's what it is.
Same with the rental car industry, where you still have, you make reservations, there's no credit card guarantee, you just make, and they have this huge churn of you know, no-show reservations, which is a horrible scenario for anybody who has all these $20,000-$30,000 assets sitting around there that you would like to get used.
Yeah. I know. So I mean, I think that in our industry, we have moved beyond such, how shall I put it, shyness, not to offend your distribution partners. So we're no longer shy, if you will. I mean, all of the book direct strategies of Marriott and Hilton and stop clicking around and so forth, I think they send a very good signal to the industry. We hear from owners, we hear from hotel operators, you know, that, yeah, you know, I don't care about Expedia, I don't care about the OTAs, let's do this promotion, let's do this. So basically, the industry has kind of become more assertive, if you will.
But I'd say we're scared of Google.
Yeah.
We're not going to stand up to Google.
Yeah, but Google is not the immediate threat that everybody is trying to make it.
Why do you say that?
I mean, listen, for any hotel, over 50% of website bookings come from in the form of Google referrals, SEO or paid search. So Google is a good partner of our industry. And then what does Google do? I mean, Google copies TripAdvisor with this, I would call them stupid Google hotel ads, the little pricing ads, Google price ads, the HPAs, which are in beta after 9 years in existence, since 2009. And again, Google serves them in Google Maps, then Google stops serving them there. Google serves them in the search engine results pages, then stops serving them. Serves them in the local listings, the local business listings, removes them from there. So basically, they have been playing with it. There's no consistency. Nobody's promoting this product. We have dedicated Google rep for Hebs Digital, from the campus in Lower Manhattan, and we talk to them about absolutely all the Google various advertising formats, from YouTube to Gmail to, all of the targeting and retargeting, and of course paid search and so forth. Google HPA, the Google Meta Search. No, we're not dealing with this. Who is in charge of this in Google? They don't know. So after 2 weeks of research, they come and say, oh, there's an outfit in one of the 2 campuses in India that is in charge of Google HPA. You have to talk to them. They said, guys, we know. Because we were certified by Google back in 2009. We were one of the first certified agency for back in the day, Google Hotel Finder, later Google HPA, and we have been running campaigns since early 2010, Google HPA, and we have been dealing with this outfit in India. People who have no idea how hospitality works. They say, well, the main purpose of Google HPA is for hotels to list their specials, packages, promotions. I said, first of all, how are they going to list this? You're talking about real-time API enablement between the CRS and the Google backend. So a regular hotel cannot do it if the CRS, let's say Synexis or SHR Windsurfer, doesn't do it. Their CRS doesn't do it. So in this sense, you're in the hands of the CRS. So you have to talk to them first, not to the hotel. Ah, really? And second, I said, they cannot publish different rates on Google HPA because there's a rate parity clauses in all of the agreements with the OTA. So rate parity, what is it? How do you spell that?
Right.
So that's the product manager of Google HPA, guys.
Yep.
So my whole point is that it has been the bastard child of Google. It has been lingering out there. We run campaigns for our clients. Only lately we are able to meet the budget. We can not spend the budget that our clients have given us to spend on Google HPA simply because there are no clicks.
Right.
And the main reason is that travel consumers still don't believe that Google is a booking channel. Google is definitely a research channel in the even partially in the dreaming phase, definitely in the planning phase, but not it's not a booking channel. And this is where that's why Google themselves, they have seen that the clicks that come through Google HPA not as many as they envisioned, if you will.
Right. Yeah. Well, and they have. The whole thing is how much with it, and they're looking at it. They've got a group that's overlooking travel. They're doing things in terms of packaging. They've put a lot of effort into the Air product, but that was really the ITA group. That was the ITA group that they acquired.
Do you not think that'll translate over though to the hospitality?
Oh no, it will.
It's incredible.
It will. But it's
IT
just,
software, ITA software came from MIT labs.
Right.
It's an extremely elegant, I would say, data mining, airline, airfare, and scheduling data mining tool.
It's so specific to airfare and airfare.
It cannot,
airfare pricing. It's just
ATP
really difficult to retool that.
You cannot retool that for hospitality, and actually the same.
But the concepts can apply. The challenges and the reason Google paid $900 million was you have a few suppliers. They have access to the really deep web data, right? The core inventory and rates, because what ITA did was not just look the way airlines used to fare things would be from origin to destination, right? And so you go Houston to New York. But like if you were Continental Airlines back in the day, you couldn't really fare anything over a spoke, right? So if you wanted to go to Houston, change planes in Raleigh, and then press didn't do that. And so ITA broke up all of those different segments, all the fare rules, all of that, and then reassembled it so you could really look at what the underlying data was. So that's the really, really deep core inventory, and that's what makes it so great and so fast. Yes, they can do it with hotels, but as Max was saying earlier, all the fragmentation, and I mean a DOS-based property management system probably isn't going to be able to help you that much. And then
by the way, but Robert, it's very important. In our industry, we have never had an ITA software type of a vendor.
Right, absolutely.
In hospitality, let's say Google can acquire and make a good use of it. So, and by the way, talking about ITA software, what we are seeing lately, which is very interesting, is that Google Flights is becoming the main go-to destination for anybody planning air travel. So my whole point is that the best rates, the most accurate scheduling, the most accurate pairing of city pairs and so forth, Sixth Freedom type of flights, especially international. It's the best information out there, and of course, I mean, from there you book, you go to the airlines and you book. My whole point is that Google Flights really makes all of the meta-search airline outfits out there irrelevant.
Who would use them?
Irrelevant. Mm-hmm. Kayak is suffering because of Google Flights. Skyscanner is suffering because of Google Flights. So my point is that it is becoming the go-to, and especially for the millennials, especially for the Gen Xers and so forth. So the whole point is that that was a good acquisition, as opposed to let's say the hotel meta search, which Google is trying to build from scratch, and they're nowhere. And
right, Max, and that's, I think the point that was made earlier was a good one, in that there is no version of ITA in the hotel industry. And so when Google bought ITA, they bought themselves right into the heart of the airline industry, and there's nothing like that with us, with the hotel space. And so, to Max's point, they have to build it. I mean, they could buy a couple little pieces of metasearch here and there, but it's not going to get them anywhere near what ITA got them, because the ITA, even before Google bought them, had participation from pretty much every major, certainly all the legacy carriers and many of the smaller carriers as well, because ITA was cheaper to participate with. And so they had a tremendous access to supply that, again, nobody in the hotel industry really has, except for like Booking or Expedia, and they're not going to buy them.
Yeah, Max, do you think that Google's going to put their Hotel Finder program into their Google Ads platform? Do you think there's an eventual migration to that?
It is. It's happened. It was this week. It was announced.
They announced it, but I mean, they give no timeline to it in that sense. I don't know. And to what level is it going to be?
It's happening later. My understanding is later this year.
Yeah, later this year.
Probably count on early next year, first quarter next year, maybe, for reality.
let's put it this way: they are trying to make this Google HPA more mainstream. So if they include it in the user interface of Google Ads, the former AdWords, I think that they will benefit from that, simply because advertisers, even if they're running if you're a small independent hotel, you're running your own Google AdWords, Google Ads campaigns, or use some local small agency, when they see that, oh, there's a Google HPA opportunity here, okay, let's talk to our CRS provider and let's ask them to enable us. So my point is that it's right in your face. They should have done this a very long time ago. I mean, again, it's Google HPA exists since 2009. Guys, it's nice. Mm-hmm. And they have never promoted that. They have never been TV ads about Google HPA. You have TripAdvisor ads about the instant booking and the likes. Even now, they are running in certain geographies, including New York City. But Google has never promoted it. It's like lingering out there, managed from this campus in India, and again, with people that do not know hospitality. That's the case.
Right. Yeah, they're taking a technical approach as opposed to kind of business, truly integrated business approach, which is what they desperately need. And again, the guys like Rob Torres and those folks, they're all on the advertising side, right? They aren't on the product side and the design side, right? They're selling ads.
But they're not even mentioning Google HPA in all of the presentations.
No, not at all. Right.
They're talking about Google AdWords.
Right.
That's their main thing. So, yeah, I know it's been frustrating for us. I mean, we have a proprietary middleware, our MetaSearch gateway, where we have a supply of real-time availability and pricing supply from a bunch of sources, CRSs, PMSs, and so forth. And on the other hand, we manage campaigns on TripAdvisor or Google HPA and so forth. All the budgeting, daily budgets, the cost per clicks and everything. And we have been dealing with this for 9 years now with Google, and I'll tell you, it's like a losing battle.
Max, what do you think about the changes that happened with Facebook's pulling back on some of the toolkits, Instagram being blacked out on some APIs and stuff like that? Do you think it's going to have a deep impact or just a temporary one? Or did people not even really use it to the value that it was beforehand, let alone lose it now kind of thing?
Well, I mean, I think that this whole... do you know what the average advertising revenue of Facebook is?
If it's a direct channel, it's not really as high. No, I do not know if there's a number that.
It's a big number.
It's a very big number. It's basically the second after Google. But it's
you talk about cost of revenue generated. I'm sorry, cost of revenue generated. Maybe I misunderstood the question.
No, it's the question is their advertising revenues. So their advertising revenues are in the tens of billions of dollars every quarter. Do you know in 2016 how many Russian operatives and bought Facebook ads? What was the total volume for that? The total cost? $100,000.
Yeah.
So because of this $100,000, political ads that some shady operators in Russia or elsewhere bought on Facebook, which is not 0.0001%, but 1/1000th of that number from the total advertising revenues on I would say on Facebook. Facebook is now paying the price, and because they feel that they have been slighted unfairly in this whole thing. So that's why they're doing only a so-so job in correcting themselves. So what I see happening is, yes, there's certain privacy things that are being changed, certain advertising formats that are being tweaked, but I don't see anything earth-shattering, if you will, with Facebook. And especially in our business, the dynamic ads for travel on Facebook are working really well. And I think that that's compensating for anything else that we may have seen that, that will work against our clients. So I don't see this as it's more like a political PR type of a thing for Facebook, and nothing of substance.
Well, they didn't shut it off to their trusted relationships. They just sent it off to most of the people that were using tools and functionalities and API draws and stuff that were not their trusted clientele that they blacked them out on. Yeah,
but they should have had a category of trusted partners a long time ago, verified and so forth. Simply, they were too late to introduce this. I mean, all of the major Google, because Google allows APIs on the back end. I mean, they verify, they subject you as if you're starting to work for the federal government. Mm-hmm. So my point is that all the financial information, everything, Google wants to know who you are in order to allow you to be one of those trusted partners. So,
and Facebook wanted user growth, right? They wanted more pages, they wanted more, and that was same with Twitter. They didn't really care because the street was looking at what are your unique visitors. Hey, it's going up. That's good.
How many accounts do you have? I mean,
Twitter,
look at what.
Twitter just did a big hit just the last couple of days. There are a lot of people dropping off, but I should say, unfortunately Ed isn't on here. Rockcheetah.com has not lost many, maybe just a half dozen of the 1,600 insane people who follow that Twitter account. But they're real. They are real insane people. So.
I do have to give compliments to LinkedIn for having improved their marketing platform in recent times. Are you guys using, or are you looking at LinkedIn differently, or are you always consider it the same as it has been in the sense of its usability or anything?
No, I see a major improvement in LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, I think these guys are very serious. I like LinkedIn, the way that they, the whole advertising platform and the way they deliver it. I think that they're doing a good job.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a resurgence on LinkedIn. I read an article earlier this week on professional athletes are now really starting to get onto LinkedIn. Like LeBron is on there for networking with business, to support their brand and to develop new things, and to network with either investors or whatever the case may be. So,
B2B advertising.
B2B advertising.
Big. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And any different perspective on Bing? I mean, they launched out their Bing Local thing, which I thought was smart of them to say, hey, if you already have a listing in Google, we already have an interface to pull the data directly over. I thought was kind of smart. Like they were aware of their entry into the market as we're starting behind everything. So we'll just take what you got and we'll move it over and not make it as difficult for you or anything. But I mean, do you think it changes the landscape at all with their expansion into that and in time?
Listen, we don't see them growing. I mean, there are certain geographies where, for example, Bing ads work better than in other geographies. It's all very subjective based on, the locals that use Bing for I don't know what kind of reason. I don't use Bing myself. But in our budgets, for example, we allocate paid search, 10 to 15% on Bing, 85 to 90% we allocate on Google.
Yeah,
Google Ads. That's the ratio that we keep. And again, it's still out there. It still produces, but does it produce better than Google in average? No. In certain geographies, it works better than Google. In others, it works not as good. So it's all based on concrete environment.
So where do you see the opportunities for hotels now, Max?
Hotels and marketing?
Increasing share, yep.
Well, it's that's a tough question. I mean, listen, if you look at what works in hospitality, TV advertising only for major big brands. So forget it. Radio advertising, some local radio station. If you're, if the majority of your guests are driving guests, it will work. Local radio advertising. Print advertising doesn't work. Having a full page in Travel and Leisure magazine. I worked for American Express for 5 years. If they hear me now, they'll skin me, but it doesn't work. So print advertising definitely doesn't work. New York Times, in the past, we used New York Times for a lot of hotels. Let's say the New York Times Digital no longer works for at least 6, 7, 8 years. Yeah. So if you are a hotel, where do you advertise? Paid search, definitely. SEO, you have to have SEO. I mean, the website, you have to have a good website, of course, mobile first, good content. The content marketing is very important. All of the local tours, activities, attractions, create the best possible travel guide, if you will, local travel guide, compared to everybody else, will reward you big time in the form of SEO, referrals, and so forth. But from paid advertising, social media, of course, you have to have social media presence, no doubt about this. If you're a boutique, if you're a luxury hotel, if you have F&B, good F&B, then of course Instagram is your main channel nowadays. But still, Facebook, Twitter, you have to be there. But from paid, that's where the main issue is. Paid is limited to paid search, GDN, targeting, retargeting. You have TripAdvisor, definitely not meta search because it doesn't work. I mean, the return on ad spend is 6 times. That's it, 6 times. I mean, it's cheaper to sell through Expedia than through meta search. Bad advertising on TripAdvisor works, no doubt. As long as you find somebody at TripAdvisor to launch your campaign, because that's a very difficult thing nowadays. It takes like 3-4 months before you launch a campaign. And again, I mean, back in 2002, we had an advertising portal on Yahoo. All the agencies had it. You log in and you see all of your campaigns for the different clients. You can group them internally, similar to Google AdWords, the dashboard. You can group them by client, by campaign, different campaigns for each client and so forth. You can see in real time impressions, clicks, and so forth. That was 2002. TripAdvisor does not have this today.
Right.
For example, if you want to manage meta search for 100 clients on TripAdvisor, you have to create 100 different accounts, and then you log in every day on 100 different accounts in order to manage them. So my whole point is that ad tech, that's the term that's used in the industry, the ad tech is simply not there. Right. TripAdvisor display advertising works. What else? Programmatic? Not so much. That's my point, is that there's we use smart data marketing, as we call it, all of the intent marketing, the Adaras, the Sojourners of the world, that they buy first-party data from the airlines, and then you have the intent, the exact dates, and then on the back end, you can serve banners with real-time availability and pricing for those same dates. That's what we have found working. And this is where it ends. That's it. Yeah. Unfortunately. There's nothing else. CRM works, of course. And by default, email and all the drip campaigns and marketing automation. Mm-hmm. But this is targeting your past guests, and hopefully turning them into repeat guests. But to target new guests, a single property, has very limited options. That's my point.
Are you doing anything with influencers, micro-influencers?
Influencers that want free hotel rooms? You're talking about those influencers?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
like Kylie Jenner. Yeah. I mean, obviously, she's not a micro-influencer.
You don't want to, yeah, she is a macro-influencer, let me tell you.
Let's put it this way. I think that a lot of pseudo influencers are taking advantage of our industry. No. Right. So I think that the PR agency of the hotel is the best suited to deal with those. And as part of a much bigger picture, what have you done for me lately, Mr. or Miss Influencer? Have you written anything about my property? When you stayed the previous time, what happened after that, and so forth? I mean, who analyzes this? The property, there's nobody that can keep track of it.
And how do you even know? I mean, who the influencers' followers are, right? In these days of bots and paid followers, how could a hotel actually?
I have an answer. I have an answer for that.
Guys, there are a lot of influencers, Robert, that entice young people and lead them in the wrong direction. Right. ISIS uses a lot of social media influencers, so that's why we have to sift through all the influencers and find the ones which we can bring on a fam trip to the property, which you can engage year round, not just because they need a free stay at your hotel. And this is a typical PR job for the new age PR agencies. That's what they should be doing.
Well, no, and actually there's a tool. Yeah, Lauren, I don't know if you talked to Jack. There's a little group. I'm actually doing a presentation at the Hotel Data Conference on kind of influencers and the whole funnel and a lot of the pitfalls, exactly, where there's just a lot of junk out there. But I discovered a little group. It's called Lumio Analytics out in Australia. And they have a little dashboard, and they're really digging down into basically the activation and the engagement of the people who are influenced, right? So it's not just I've got so many followers, but they've got some pretty interesting little case studies where they'll say, yeah, this person has 1 million followers or 100,000 followers, whatever. And you'll have somebody who's absolutely half the size who you can get a much better engagement and be targeted. So actually, I'll send you a link on it. It's pretty. Lauren, I don't know if you talked to him or sent anything back and back.
We've continued the conversation, but even just from a practicality experience, and because I have properties in New York that we're working with, and to your point, Max, on every level that you've just talked about, is every concern. They want the free stay. They want to do what they want to do. They offer whatever following they have. But here's the realities of it, and we've learned our lesson from practicalities. One, you have to be explicit in your expectations of what you're wanting them to do. Exactly how many durable posts, how many storied posts, how many follow-up posts, what's the content relevance, what's the content specificities is what they're pointing out. What content are they going to be referring to as to the genre of their audience that they're talking to? And then you have to also clarify their followers, that you're not going to accept 1,000 robotic followers, because you get micro-influencers that are at the 80 to 200,000 following range, and they got a few thousand robot followers. That's what happens because they're at that level that they're getting that attraction. So you have to be specific with them, that just telling me, contractually that you're going to drop 1,000 or 2 on me of new follower potentials doesn't count when I can go in and see that they got 0 posts and 1 follow. So to your point, like with Lumio, and there's other platforms you can purge some of these influencers. It goes back to the old fam restrictions you used to have, where you used to invite people because of their title, and they send their secondary family because they didn't want to go, but it was a junket for their family. We're in the same filter problem, where we have to be very specific and hold them to task that if it's going to be you, this is our expectations, this is the contract, this is the client, and it's very specific, and we'll do all the things we want to do about the room type, the amenity things, the making available common space, imaging, and everything else. But yeah, you have to really put this to paper to really make it good, and not just, we're going to have somebody that has 300,000 followers show up and take pictures and post for us, and then not get anything valuable from that exchange. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, there are two parts. One is filtering out the influencers and the reliability, and using a tool like Illumio or something can help you at least do first cuts on that. But then the second side is really A, having the contractual terms, and then B, managing the process. Right? I mean, that's
However,
really
that being said, there's an upside to influencers. I mean, I think there's a huge
absolutely good ones. Yeah, for good ones, they're definitely.
And not the macro. The data has told us it's not even the macro; it is the micro influencers.
No,
yeah. Drive the most business.
According to Jack, we're closing the show.
Yeah. Once they go down to below 30,000, it's probably too niche, and you can't get very good data. But you get up into the 100, kind of the 100,000, 80,000, that sort of thing.
Okay, that's it, everybody. Thanks for joining. We'll see y'all later.
Bye.
Stuart, have you hydrated?
Right? Don't we start at 1 o'clock?
Right, we start at 1. Stuart,
have you rehydrated yourself?
Stuart did something silly by letting a client get engaged with his scheduling program on Friday morning. He got a few texts from him this morning that said, "Still stuck with client. Sorry, still in meeting with client. Sorry." And I'm like, "You just are getting off the hangover from the England loss. That's all it is."
That's probably true. Yeah.
Whatever client at Fuel, Hebs would take it in a second and not.
That's funny. Max can probably relate to this. If we didn't have to deal with clients or employees, our life would be great. It would be really
actually, my life is great because I don't deal with clients and employees since April 1st.
So there you
go.
And did you cover that at the top of the show? You said what you're doing.
And by the way, guys, because I do not want you to envy me, but I have the opportunity to work from my weekend house over the weekend and on Fridays. And so if you look at do you see the view from my window here?
Wow.
That's the pond. And that's part of the property. It's a 15-acre property in the Catskills. We saw a bear this morning when we took a walk with my wife in the distance, of course, not close by. And deer, family of raccoons. So it's fun.
Life is good. Going to Alaska.
So Stuart,
next week. Life is good.
That's what I wish to.
I'm dreaming.
To
that's
everybody.
What I can aspire to.
That's right.
Give the bears in Alaska even more leeway. Okay.
They're bigger and better.
They can run faster.
Right. They are bigger and better.
Yeah. Well, so Stuart, what you missed was we solved world peace, world hunger, and world hospitality issues all just before you got on.
Awesome.
And by the way,
assigned to me, right? So I'll have to execute.
That Goldman Sachs predicted that the final will be between England and Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about forecast,
third place game,
and
we'll call that the final.
In our I know. I'm watching the World Cup very closely, but the point is that
even though Bulgaria that hasn't made it in how long?
Since Stoichkov, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. Stoichkov, wow.
Be nice, Stuart. Be nice.
I'm sorry. I actually I don't know if you know this, Max. We have a office in Sofia, Bulgaria. So
oh, really?
Yeah, I've been over there a couple of times, and I always talk to the guys about soccer, and they said that the corruption in the soccer in Bulgaria is like worse than any other country in the world. It's terrible. That's what they tell me. I don't know if that's true.
I'm sure. Listen, corruption in Europe is
it's called politics.
It's a business model.
It's a business model.
One thing I wanted to mention. Max mentioned TripAdvisor. Their share price is all the way. It is doubled since November 4th. Mm-hmm. They were way down in the 30s, and Wall Street is starting to give them a little bit more. Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of questions about the valuation right now from people that look to quote unquote experts in the industry. A lot of questions about TripAdvisor stock right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
TripAdvisor has shifted away from instant booking and their whole meta search product. Now they're focused on local tours and activities. That's the latest spiel to Wall Street. It's I see like every 3-4 quarters they try something new, they fail, and they move to another one. And I simply wonder why Wall Street is so patient with this company and why
they have 400 million unique visitors a month. They're going, well, they'll get it right.
Yeah, but
they'll monetize them at some point.
No, actually, they're more than they're like 500 million unique visitors a month, and out of this 500 million, 99% come visit the website, and TripAdvisor makes $0 from them.
Right.
Zero.
Yep.
That's monetization of this 500 million has been a problem for TripAdvisor, and they still cannot solve it. And now with local tours and activities, they believe that they can solve it, which I doubt, simply because it's such a super fragmented industry. Mom and pop shops, one-man operators. How are you gonna? I mean, Viator is. You know that it was acquired by TripAdvisor. They had big, I would say, dreams about expanding Viator, and it never happened, actually. So, though it's a very good service, Viator itself, but it's a very tough business. The local tours and activities, and especially to make them bookable online is a very expensive proposition on one hand, and on the other hand, all the liabilities. What happens if you send people over there and somebody robs them? Who bears the responsibility? So insurance, all of the payments. What happens if the bus doesn't arrive on time to pick up whoever you have sent over there? Yeah. So there are a lot of liabilities and a lot of, and that's why the reason is that only 20% of tours and activities are bookable online today. I mean, after 25 years of travel e-commerce. Yeah. So, but that's the latest spin of TripAdvisor: local tours and activities.
Yeah, well, it's another dart. Anybody throwing darts to see if anything sticks, but
yeah.
If folks are interested in that sector, there is the Arrival Conference, which is end of September in Las Vegas, which is Doug Quinby and Bruce Rossard, some former Focusrite folks, put that together, and it's they're pulling a lot of people and trying to figure out how to improve that area. And boy, let me tell you, every startup who's getting any traction in that vertical is basically selling for about $50 million. It's unbelievable, the money that's flying in tourism activities.
Booking.com
last year. It's a great little conference it's a completely unserved niche in the travel industry. And last year they were expecting 250 and they got 600. I mean, the hotel was just, the meeting space was just bursting at the seams. Wow. And there was a ton of energy and so I'm going to try and get there, and it's a little out of my area. I really had a good time at the conference last year. It's just
I don't know much about this conference. What is it? What is the focus of it?
It's the Arrival Conference. It's tours and activities, basically a destination conference, and it was started by Douglas Quinby, who was the senior VP of research for Focusrite, and Bruce Rossard, who used to be the VP of marketing for Focusrite,
and Alex.
And
Kremer.
It was always
also Alex Kremer.
and Alex, that's right, and Alex Kremer as well. And it was always an interest area, and Doug, wrote a lot about it, and always did a lot of research in the area. And they just kind of looked at it and went, "Wait, this is a gap. This is an underserved market." And and Douglas is actually now not really with Focusrite anymore. He's doing this conference full time. So so they put it together, got a great program. They learned a lot from how Focusrite runs its conferences, of what works and what doesn't, and pulled together great speakers, great content, great themes, and you're right. The first one knocked it out of the park, and we'll see. Hopefully, they won't have a sophomore slump. So.
The main thing is that travel consumers are not convinced that by booking a local tour or an activity in advance, there are any benefits, there are any added benefits.
That's the main
thing. That's why
Most don't even look, right? I think even one of the notes said like maybe 40% even consider looking before they stay. So 60%, the majority of people don't even think about what they're going to do.
Unless it's a limited inventory thing, like a tour of Machu Picchu, right, where they only let in so many people a day. Sure. I mean, those types of things. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about hop on, hop off bus tours or lake tours where. Yeah. You don't really know if you're on a leisure trip and you want to be somewhat spontaneous. You're not really up for scheduling every minute of every day prior to your arrival.
Yeah. Right. Well, and I can use my daughter's honeymoon, which is taking place right now in the Greek Isles, as an example. She didn't book it online. She booked it through Wendy Perrin. Wendy Perrin and Wendy's destination expert, Christos, who's in Greece. But they booked some things where I think they had a private tour of like the Acropolis and things like that, which was good. And again, they're smartly scheduled 8 o'clock in the morning when it's not too hot. And that's sort of, things where, I mean, for something like that, my daughter's like, "Hey, can you help me with a honeymoon?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. I have never been to Greece. No, you don't want to screw this up."
Right, but you know Wendy Perrin, really so you must have turned around to Wendy Perrin.
Well, yeah. So I hooked her up with Wendy. Let me tell you, they did that. They're doing a cooking class on Crete, which is a very good native sort of thing. They're doing it on Santorini. They're doing that's the only one that's kind of a small group, right? On a sailboat, some sort of like sunset sail cruise, something like that, and everything else is kind of flexible. But very interesting.
That's a honeymoon when you're probably planning more than a regular leisure vacation.
Right. Yeah. So, and actually it's interesting the way that they've scheduled this. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if she and her husband really wind up using Wendy for other trips, because I mean, if you're going to Greece, this is the right way. Everything, the transfers from the airport to the hotel to the ferry dock, all sorts of things. They're going to 4 spots. They're going to, they started in Athens, 2 nights in I think 52-room boutique property, cool little property that most people wouldn't really, know about, sort of thing. Worked out great. They're then going to Spetses, which most people don't go to, and she's there now, and she's just like in love with this place. They're staying at a leading hotel of the world. They've got an ocean view balcony room sort of thing, and it's spectacular. But the place is, I think, maybe, I don't know how many rooms. Maybe, oh no, wait, that one's maybe 52. I can't remember. Not a big place. I'm sorry, 28 rooms in Athens, and then the places they're staying on Santorini and Crete are 5- and 6-room villas, which are spectacular. But you wouldn't have come across them on your own. There's zero chance.
You cannot go wrong with Greece, the Greek islands, not Athens. Right. Athens, the archaeological museum, the Acropolis, and the Plaka. You go to a tavern in the Plaka, and that's the end of it. So 2 nights maximum. But the Greek Isles are unbelievable.
Beautiful,
So she made a good choice there.
Oh yeah. They're spending 2 nights in Spetses, 3 in Santorini, 4 in Crete. Sort of
Everything
thing.
you just said, though, is the benefit of the planner, is that you're going to find spots that most people aren't going to find. So if you're putting destination things together where it's access to what everybody already gets, then there is no value in that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And by the way, actually, next week I'll have a new article on local tours and activities and why hoteliers are best suited to offer those.
Absolutely.
And first of all, as local businesses, they can easily contract with other local businesses. They already know them. The concierge, the front desk can sell these tours, pre-arrival CRM type of communications, on in-stay, post-stay. The whole point is that hoteliers are not doing a good job in that. And again, if you do analysis, in New York City, you have 600 plus hotels nowadays.
Yeah.
If there may be 1 or 2 hotels that offer Broadway packages, this would be like too many. Why?
It's funny you bring that up.
Too much work.
It's funny you bring that up. We actually have that as a build program for one of our hotels. And the scary part of it is the logistics associated with it. It's actually easier to use Uber as the transportation facility than it is to get a black car for the hotel, because of the 2-hour pre-request, the 2-hour durability of the transportation, the arrival, the location, the ticket distribution. There's so many logistics things that when you really break it down, it sounds fun to say, oh, let's do Broadway tickets. But now you're fighting, what is that, Max, what is that 24-hour app for tickets? Like
Broadway.com.
Okay.
Broadway.com.
So you're fighting the overflow of tickets, and what you're trying to do is that if you don't have the clientele that want the better seats and pay for that opportunity, you're really competing with what you can offer in market. Just say, go to this app and pick your own tickets up. So the clientele has to validate the cost, the expense, the logistics for the hotel to even get connected to that stuff.
But it's not only Broadway.
But
what
you
about
may be able to work
packages?
through. But you can work with groups like Nederlander organization, things like that, who have a variety of them. And if smart hotels can do that, and you can get access to, 2 seats, it is possible. It's just it's
shopping
work.
tours.
Yeah.
Shopping tours. You can have a Guggenheim Museum tour. You can have all of these things which hotels are not offering simply because it's too much.
Hey, Max, what's the tour that you were supposed to take me on? Federal Reserve?
Oh, the Federal Reserve Bank?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so mad.
You have to reserve in advance. You have to reserve in advance to see the biggest gold depository on planet Earth, which is bigger than Fort Knox, by the way.
So,
it's in the basement of the...
Well, I'm sorry. That assumption works when a hotel has a concierge and it's in sort of a destination. But what about for hotels that, not side of the road hotels in the middle of Nebraska, but it's sort of secondary markets where they don't have a hotel? What's the right, one of the things that I'm curious about is what's the right service, or how does a hotel in those kind of locations offer up tours and activities? Even though there are some, right? But there aren't so many. We're not talking about New York or Orlando or Las Vegas. Are they just out in there? Are they out on the cold? How would they manage that?
So well, for some of our clients, we they don't necessarily monetize or offer it as a service, but they try to help. They're in the market, so they have knowledge that the guest coming into the market doesn't have. So they can leverage that by whether that's printed things or in an app or just communication verbally at check-in, but helping guests make decisions, because anyone that travels has the same conundrums. Where do I eat? Where do I visit? What do I do? The hotel is primed to be able to help that, and that's where. Like Airbnb is kicking hotels' ass, because the hosts are personalizing the experience and giving them recommendations. And I really like this restaurant, and I really like this. Hotels should be doing that more in those secondary markets. Whether they monetize it or not, it's improving the guest experience. The guest has a good experience.
I fully agree, Stuart. And actually, this is, for example, here the top 5 things that you have to visit, or the top 10 things that you have to visit while here. Right. Having it on the website, having it in the form of a flyer upon check-in, partnering with local tour and activities providers that, to come and pick up people from the lobby of the hotel, like guaranteed departure tour. Every day, 8 a.m., go down, and there's a bus passing by, and we'll take you to whatever attraction. So it's just, I think that first of all, the turnover in our industry is to blame. The lack of bandwidth. I mean, most hotels operate on a like a skeleton crew nowadays. Unfortunately, I mean, when I did my undergraduate in hospitality studies, my master's degree in hospitality studies, and we had these big books that claim that if it's a X number of stars hotel, you need to have Y number of employees, and here are the different positions. If I go back and review that, today's hotels have half of those people working at the hotel.
If half.
That's where we are today.
Sad.
So lack of bandwidth is.
Now you have Alice. Now you have the online. I have to go. I have a call right now. So Max, I just wanted to say thanks so much for coming. I'm so happy to see you again, and I'll talk to you after your Alaska trip. Bye, everybody.
The pleasure is all mine, guys.
Bye, Holly.
Well, it's funny to bring that up because right now, exactly that's what we're talking about. I have a hotel that has a caliber of high-end and other demographics that are not high-end. So we call them experience packages, where the hotel facilitates it, where a picnic in Central Park is literally, we bring the guests to the picnic area. And we do that with a local restaurant. Then there's the picnic in the park, which is we coordinate with a restaurant guest that we hand a basket from and say, here's your picnic, have fun. because not everybody wants it, the cost associated with the upper, but they want the experience maybe that they're willing to satisfy with the lower. So we're tiering some of the packages experience-wise. MoMA, we have a Dosan package, and then we have a here's discount tickets package. The Federal Reserve, absolutely. Max, thank you. I forgot totally about the Federal Reserve. I'm throwing it into the list of stuff we're going to do because it's one of those things. I mean, we have the Ground Zero pack, not package, but we have the Ground Zero experience. Things that we're providing transportation for, and other things we're just coordinating the availability where they don't have to take that extra effort to do it themselves. We're coordinating for them and handing it to them when they arrive. So yeah, it's a value proposition. But to your point, Val, it's like, who does this stuff if there's nobody around to do it? I mean, we just happen to have a hotel that has that clientele that can justify the resources, bandwidth internally to make the efforts to do things together. But the average Joe.
And I believe, to Max's point, I think it's exactly what a hotel ought to be doing. That's just, it's different for what a hotel in New York City, a 4-star in New York City can do versus a 2-star, I don't know, in St. Louis, right? So, how do those hotels, even though they should be doing it because it does generate guest engagement and guest loyalty, but how do they do it? And that's there's
even the 2-star
I believe
St. Louis. Yeah. No, I was going to say they'll have a 3-ring binder with print, recommended restaurants, right? Here are the Thai places we think are good. Here are the Italian. Here's this. It's as simple as that,
places, right? It could be easily the flyer that was referenced, right, with the top 10.
Well, and again,
I believe information is critical because the local hotels, they know the local environment better than anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
because these people live in the local community.
That's right.
That's the first thing. And the second is, information, and second, partnerships with local providers. And I understand that they don't have the concierge, they don't have the team to do picnics in Central Park type of activities, but partnering with local providers that basically take all the organization and everything, outside of the hands of the hotel, and providing information is good enough for a property like this. And again, in Paris, I stayed in a small hotel, and then the front desk, very nice gal, and she said, "You have to buy this like we were 3 days or 5 days in Paris. This city pass, and it's a little bit more expensive that you can buy it someplace else. But let me tell you why it's worth it. First of all, you don't wait in line for any of from the Louvre to the Triumph Arc and so forth. You don't wait in line, and we go. It's okay. So we bought it, and we go to the Louvre. The line was maybe 5 miles long. I kid you not. And these are people waiting to buy tickets. And in the same time, any hotel they sell the city passes where you go straight into the Louvre. My goodness, I mean, it's elementary, Watson. Yet, not every hotel is doing it, and especially here in North America, I think that hotels should be doing more of it.
Well, DMAs, CMO, the TDCs, all those should be providing that lift, that coordinated effort. But I mean, this kind of goes to something you mentioned, Valen, earlier on about the percentages, or maybe it was Stuart that mentioned about the percentage of people that don't research the local tour guide opportunities, local attractions. There was a stat, I think it was in the 60th percentile, and I apologize for not being accurate on it, that people do research of their vacation while they're on vacation. Mm-hmm. And to this day, I've never gone into a hotel that didn't have a brochure rack, that didn't have information I did not find anywhere online. It's not that they didn't have a website or something, but they were so poorly optimized or so poorly represented, or I didn't find them in such a certain way that there's a brochure on a charter fishing boat from Captain Bob that you pull out and go, oh gosh, and he has a phone number, maybe that's about it. But you find these things. So all that stuff the hotel should encompass and do. But to the point when I was in Madison, Wisconsin, which by the way is a beautiful little city, the hotel was wonderful about having behind the desk stuff where they had walking maps, they had things you can't miss if you have certain foods you like and so forth. But the problem I had with it, as well prepared as they were for it, was if you didn't ask the question, you didn't be given the resource. And to that end, I think that's where hotels drop the ball a lot, is if they just showed that they had this value proposition that they could bring into their website, as you pointed out, Max, or how they engage with the pre-arrival or at the front desk. I think it would really improve what they could do as a market presence voice, more so than what they just have as a resource if it's being asked for. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's not the regurgitated static, you know, here's this check-in. It's having a one-to-one relationship with every guest and asking them questions about why are they in town, what are they looking to do, and then making personalized recommendations based on your knowledge as well. We're in the hospitality business.
And especially discover the local destinations through the eyes of the locals. I mean, JDV Hospitality, Joie de Vivre, they had this Discover San Francisco through the eyes of the locals. They had like local guides, and for not professional guides. You know, he's Mary. Mary is an engineer. And here's what she likes to do over the weekend or something like this. So my point is that turning your hotel into the hero of the destination. We have been preaching this for how many years, and the result is that nobody's doing it, unfortunately. Right.
Yeah, I actually ripped something away from a magazine that I love that was one of the most successful campaigns ever did, was what to do for 36 hours. Remember those articles in the Flight magazine?
American Way.
Yeah. So what I did was I had the 5 categories: cultural, culinary, family adventure, soft edge, whatever, and what to do. But then I tailored it to our bellman who had been with the hotel for 15 years or 20 years. What you can't miss if you only have 12 hours or a day, or what you should do if you really want to find the biggest ball of twine or whatever. And they broke it down to their recommendations for each of the categories of if you really want to see culturally or soft adventure, you need to take a hang glide or whatever. And that stuff, that information, just putting it on the website had more traffic than we did for our accommodations or our page. And it was just helpful information. It really wasn't linked information. It was just helpful information. It was content.
And it has great SEO value on top of that.
We turned into an authority for actual activities in that market because we had that matrix of data. Yeah.
Well,
which reminds me, I need to duplicate that.
And you know, as Max said earlier, for AI, you know, the number of questions that AI can answer, it's like, well, if you start recording the questions that people are if everybody's coming in asking about where's a good Italian restaurant or what's a such and such, maybe figure out the answers to those and have some sort of, you know, process where you can record it and have it accessible by the staff to answer them.
But not even from an AI perspective, which is a great point. Even from a bot perspective that Max you brought out earlier.
I'm just saying from a human perspective without any of the technology. Just if somebody asks a question, tell them, give them an answer.
Right, but from a current technology perspective, just the bot stuff where you mentioned, Max, that 60% of the level 1 stuff was being handled already. Same too with what we put a bot in for one of the hotels. We had a higher number than that. But we offered multiple languages, the 3 main categories of level 1 problems: accounting, reservations, and front desk issues. And what we did, and we just started doing, I shouldn't say did, we just started doing was we started looking at the repetition of the problems that were being typed in that weren't getting solved, and we started adding that into the matrix of what the bot's answers could be to solve some of those things that we didn't anticipate before the building of it. So it just from a self-learning perspective, even without AI included, you can refine that engagement process so that by the time it has to get to a human, it's a very defined issue solved quickly, and it can be handled faster because of it. So.
Well, I wanted to hit.
And then that ties back. You can leverage those same questions back into your content on your website if you're seeing similar questions.
Yeah, it's like, then why not take that and throw it into the FAQ?
Then the guest doesn't have to find the chatbot; they can just find it by Googling. You know.
Yeah. But I want to get to one news topic, which was the Focusrite had a little study which basically said, who's winning and losing in product consumption, and private accommodation is killing it. In 2017, it's up to 3 in 10 travelers stayed in private accommodation. So it's up to 30%. And just a couple of years ago, it was well below 20. But the really alarming stat that I wanted to point out, 2017, fewer travelers stayed in a hotel. At least according to the Focusrite's, group of consumers, and it's a large group. They had 73% stayed in a hotel in 2016. 68% stayed in 2017. That's a much larger number. That is a very, very scary stat for the industry, that they aren't retaining people. There are options that people can have, and as we said, those private accommodation groups are being really smart on experiences and what you're doing and giving people unique, personalized experiences that they wouldn't necessarily get, in the hotel.
I agree and disagree, to tell you the truth, because first of all, this is a survey. I mean, our industry, hospitality industry, has had the best first quarter ever on record. The second quarter is shaping up the best second quarter on record ever. So in this sense, hospitality is enjoying an unprecedented growth. All the projections for 2018, for 2019 are, again, very positive. Definitely demand outweighs supply, which helps hoteliers raise ADRs, achieve better RevPARs. So, again, surveys and projections are exactly the same as the surveys and projections for England, reaching the final with Belgium.
Yeah, well, this one, Focusrite.
So let's put
Focusrite has been using, in fairness to Focusrite, they've been doing this for a number of years, and it's the same panel, and that's
Listen, I love Focusrite. Don't get me wrong. My whole point is that this is a survey. The reality is, I would say, slightly different because, first of all, you have a friend of mine come to New York City, staying at an Airbnb, beautiful Airbnb, all the way from Australia. Unfortunately, the Airbnb was above a pub, and they didn't sleep at all for the first 48 hours, and then they moved to a hotel. So she's one of those 3 visits, stays at Airbnb, resulted in a complete disaster. So my point is, this is not actual stays. This, how shall I put it? Humans who respond quickly to questions. I think that Airbnb has put a dent in hospitality, no doubt. I mean, New York City, 12 to 14% of demand is satisfied by Airbnb. There are 30,000 active Airbnb listings in the city. So it has put a dent, but also it has made hoteliers smarter. For example, what are the benefits that the hotel offers? The common areas where you have a bar, you have a lobby, you have meeting spaces, you have places where you can meet your peers, because typically your peers will stay at that hotel and not people that you don't want to meet. This is some people stay at these hotels, especially boutique hotels, luxury hotels, because of the fact that they know that they will meet their peers there, and they will feel appreciated and at the same level as their peers. Airbnb doesn't offer that. Security.
Well, they're beginning to, right? They're trying to get into this boutique space. They're trying to partner with hotels in order to offer
for their guests.
To be able to provide those common areas.
But it's interesting. But if you look at year to date for the U.S. hotel industry, year to date occupancy percentage is up 0.4% over last year. Right, demand is up, but it's not going into the hotels. It's getting bled off into other options, and ADR is up about 3%. Right, and that has been kind of the trend. And actually, that's up a little bit above what STR and CBRE and those guys.
Robert, this is because this is the 7th year on record with continued growth.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I know. But anyway, what I wanted to do, I want to include my rant because
I didn't miss your rant. You haven't done it yet?
No, that's why Stuart came late. So here's the thing.
I have to listen back to the show now. I don't.
A little bit before. I'll try to be quick. It's so difficult for me though. Okay, so my daughter had a wedding in Austin, and I am calling out the groups because they should be ashamed of themselves, right? It's Westin and it's White Lodging. These are 2 professional companies who should be doing better, right? Just flat out. So I'll go through. I talked about the pre-arrival a little bit, right? Just to get a 25-room wedding block took 75 days, right? Horribly structured content or contract referencing attrition clauses and things like that that have been removed. Really bad, but regardless of that, 75 days to get the block loaded. When they do get the block loaded, the inventory is loaded incorrectly, so the wedding night is not available. They fix that. The rates get loaded incorrectly. The room rate gets loaded as a tax. So 2 rooms, 2 nights instead of $400, or 1 room, 2 nights, $400, it's $800, right? They fix that. They're doing little things like charging 0.6% for franchise tax recoupment, which is just annoying because if you look at the franchise tax law, it probably should only be, 0.5% maybe, and that's a pretty slimy thing to charge back with it. Anyway, but still, sales office, no communication of block status. It got filled early. Not even the ability for like at least 8 or 10 room nights to say we'll put some connecting rooms on request to do it. They pushed the families of the groom, 2 families, out to an Airbnb, right? Just by not saying we'll put it on request, we'll do our best. Just no, we don't do that. Days before arrival, the hotel started selling rooms at $35 to $48 below the block rate, just retail, right? So, revenue management, no proactive work to the group. I'm getting calls from people staying there going, what's going on? I've got to make the call. Can you upgrade people? Which I don't think they really did. They upgraded me, but as far as I could tell, they didn't upgrade anybody else, which again is just why piss off these people? Okay. Arrival, mobile check-in doesn't work, right? And even I came in, I confirmed a rate reduction for, we had a suite at the regular room rate, second night comp, right? Because we're generating 60, 70 room nights, whatever the thing may be. So that's okay. Stays uneventful. They did a very nice thing. They had a chalkboard in the lobby because they're pet friendly and they had the names of all the dogs checking in. I thought that was great, right? That was a cute thing. Good job, guys, on that. But they also had a very nice little text message based valet parking thing, right? You could send a text message down. You got some auto response stuff coming back, but the guys didn't use the system to go send a message when the car's out front. They go, be down in 10 to 15 minutes. And it was kind of a mess out there where they could have really been, your car's here now, right? And really been very effective with people. But here's where, so kind of, uneventful, not bad. Departure. No late checkout, not even for the bride and groom from their wedding suite, right? Not even an hour. No. Get the hell out. Not a good process, right? No app-based checkout. What I really loved was when I checked out, the desk clerk didn't even provide the folio to review, right? Just, you want to go through your chart, anything like that. I said, hey, I haven't seen it. Well, what happened? I got charged for the second night in the suite. It's like, that's wrong. I even got charged for 2 phantom valet parking on the cars, right? And the guy's starting to argue with me with, well, I don't show anything with the comp. And I'm like, here's the thing of the name of the person. I have the email, the guy's pushing back, and just really, ridiculous.
So the salesperson wasn't there to say goodbye.
No contact from the sales office.
Forcing you out at the same time, so it has to be that they all knew you were going to be downstairs.
Actually, zero contact from the sales office from last September through the entire stay with the wedding planner, professional local wedding planner, or my daughter or myself, right? Which is nuts. And then I mean, just over and over you go, what the hell are you
So I used to think
doing?
that hell hath no fury like this, what the woman scorned, but I think it hell hath no fury like a hotel you're scorned.
Actually, even worse. My daughter, they left a bottle of champagne, a very expensive bottle that a guest gave to them in the refrigerator. They called, said, nope, they couldn't find it. And it's like, it's there. Do we need to come over and look for it? We found it. They didn't look, right? I mean, we are talking lazy hotel management. And
will there be emails sent for this? Will this be, Robert, were you going to send email to people in the organizations as you know it? I mean, is there going to be some feedback to this? Because
Oh yeah.
I need to know this stuff.
But even when I'm checking out, I said, I'm happy to talk to the general manager. No, management isn't here on weekends. And you go, who the hell is training these people? Right?
Yeah, that's bull. Yeah.
And I said, and I'm like, okay, well, good. Let's call them at home. Right?
I was remiss for Helena.
Robert, you're scaring me because I'm planning my older daughter's wedding in October.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Okay, so that's that.
Don't use the Westin in Austin.
No, the La Quinta,
it's in California, but same thing. It's like
here's a good one. The La Quinta Austin North, right? And my whole point on this rant is, damn it, hotel industry, clean up your operational act, right? Yeah. Forget the marketing. If you're going to do stuff like just, get into another business, do something else. This is not hospitality. Okay, my sister flies in from Sun Valley, Idaho, which means she's got to drive to Boise, gets a flight via Seattle into Austin. It's 1:30 a.m. I'm in there, kind of doing some work. So they come in and they go up to their room, and I'm packing up my computer, and I'm about to go, and they come back down. I go, oh, what's wrong? Was somebody in the room? They're like, no, it was a single bed instead of, 2 double beds. It was her and my nephew, right? Her and her son. So they wanted 2 beds instead of 1. That's fine. The guy goes and fixes it. I go to sleep. Next morning, they come down. The second room they opened up, and my sister noticed there's a suitcase on the floor. There are 2 sleeping people in a room with 2 double beds that they got, which fortunately they didn't wake up, because my sister, who is ultra liberal, is scared enough to be in Texas with people with guns. So she was thinking, oh my God, there are people, I'm going to get shot, sort of thing. And so they go out, and third time's the charm. It's like, come on, guys, industry, you can do better than this. Really, yeah, I think so, right? So anyway, that's my rant.
So before we fix the blockchain technology applications,
excellent point.
Amen, Max. Amen.
Internet of Things. Before we let the robots roam the hallways of the hotels, we have to fix the basics. I agree with you.
Yeah. And the code, when you write code for these guys to go do that, you don't want the code to be running these experiences.
But it goes back to what we talked about on this show a lot, and I know Ed's always vocal about, which is, there's a lot of people in this business now that are asset managers. They're not hospitality businesses anymore. Right. And someone at the Westin or the management company is probably looking at a spreadsheet saying, hey, we were 99% occupied this past weekend, and we got great ADR, and everything's going great. And they give 0 shits about your experience, because as a business, it's profitable. So why do they care? That's one of those biggest challenges facing us.
And even on the local experiences, one thing that will pop up will be, hey, here a really cool little place, that sort of thing. Somebody's going to step in and go, wait a second, this is a revenue opportunity. We are merchandising our guests. How do we monetize this? Hey, Chili's will give us, $2 a lead or whatever the case may be, per check or per person or whatever. Let's send them to Chili's. Don't send them to.
You know what? Going back, Valen, to something you had asked about before,
Lauren likes to keep people in suspense like this.
Yeah.
Lauren, your stuff.
Quiet, buddy. At least it froze on a decent picture. If that was Tim, it would have been horrific.
But Robert, going back to private accommodations, shared accommodations, whatever you want to call them. One phenomenon that's happening in the industry, and I really love it, is the following. First of all, Booking.com has over 5 million private accommodations, offers 5 million private accommodations, which is more than Airbnb. And then on top of that, all of those private accommodations are bookable, instantly bookable.
Right.
As opposed to Airbnb, where you have like less than half of their listings bookable. For the rest, you have to send a request and so forth.
Right.
And on top of that, Booking.com does not charge service fee.
Right.
They charge the owner.
Yeah.
So Airbnb now, they have to, and actually they're experimenting not charging the travel consumer, the ridiculous 6% service fee.
Right.
And the same is happening with HomeAway. The same is happening with VRBO. So Booking.com is changing.
Yeah, they're changing the model.
The model. That's what it is. The model is becoming a true accommodation, booking, plain vanilla type of transaction, which that's how it should be.
Right.
So
sorry, guys,
that's what I like.
My hub got hit by lightning. I went offline for a moment. My apologies.
How close was your hub to you, Lauren?
It was relatively close, but the lights went blank for a little while. My apologies. No, I was just going to add. I'm sorry for interrupting.
We need to ask Max. We need to ask Max. How many times do you think Lauren has been hit by lightning?
No, we don't need to ask Max this.
Max, take it again.
Lauren, where are you now? You're in back in Florida, right?
Yep, Southwest Florida. Yep. To answer Robert. Yep, Southwest. Southwest Florida.
How many times has he been directly hit versus near hit? Why don't you just tell him, Lauren?
Max will enjoy this. Tell him so we can get past this.
Yes. Three times I've been directly hit by lightning, and a few incidental ones close by.
No, he's been struck 6 times. He undersells it. If he tells the stories, if you're standing in the shower and lightning comes through your window and knocks you unconscious, you're getting struck by lightning. If you're riding on a bike or in a car and that gets struck, you're struck by lightning. So it's 6.
Those are just close by. It didn't actually physically. But anyway.
6. Okay. If you're scuba diving and lightning hits the water right where you are and all the fish around you are dead floating in the water, you were struck by lightning.
They're just close. Lauren. They're just close. It's not really like it. Okay. I did want to finish what I was going to say about balance stuff. I had a conversation from somebody in a boutique hotel in the secondary market that was afraid of the brands that were coming to market. She wasn't going to be able to compete with the points spread. She already was approached by some of her business travelers that said, "We love being with you, but I want to get points so I can bring the family on a vacation," so forth and so on. Plus, they have some food, and you don't have food and all this other stuff. I said, go reach out to the local restaurants and see if you send business to them, can they offer an incentive value? And so she got back with me after I talked to her about this a few weeks ago. She says it's working. I mean, people are happy with the idea that I can offer them something that I can't do internally, but I can direct them something local because they actually love this little breakfast place around the corner. So there are the destination things, even at that level of satisfaction that come through. Yeah. Max, I don't think we get a chance to go back to Helena. I typed it in. She put it on Facebook, which isn't on our chat here. She was just asking about whether or not, real quickly, about is it still worth being in Meta to go comparatively to the OTAs at a 6-to-1 ratio you referred to. Is that still viable value to say doing Meta is still putting you in that space, or is it just not worth being in that space for that?
I would say the following. If Meta on TripAdvisor, I'm a big pessimist on Meta on TripAdvisor simply because the competition is so fierce there. Second, the return is again 6-to-1, 5-to-1. Google is, though it has a similar return as a pure, let's say, Google HPA return, but Google, you have to look at Google as the Google ecosystem. So everything that works on Google, Google paid search, Google GDN targeting, retargeting, Google HPA, Gmail ads, YouTube ads. So all of this, you have to look at the blended return on ad spend on Google, because all of these various initiatives in Google, they feed off each other. And the point is that, and we at Hebs Digital, we're already reporting to our clients blended Google return. I'm investing $5,000 in Google, or $1,000 in Google, or $10,000 in Google. What is my return? Who cares which of the initiatives on Google this return came from? That's the Google as an ecosystem is how you should be looking at it today. So that's why.
So yes. Why you're not doing the same for TripAdvisor then? Looking at like business listings and
TripAdvisor, yes.
Direct
if you're doing TripAdvisor, you have to look at TripAdvisor as TripAdvisor display, business listings, meta search, enhanced listings on metasearch or instant booking.
Yeah.
So the blended average, and if the blended average doesn't work, then I mean that's it. But I fully agree with you. It's you cannot judge by a single initiative because people are shopping around like crazy, multiple touch points before a travel consumer makes a decision. So in this sense, the whole traveler's journey has become so complicated and with a lot of touch points, and you want to make sure that that you're reporting correctly.
Yeah, and too many people are just beholden to last click data. You know, and meta search is really dangerous, I think, when you're just looking at last click booking, you know, conversion rate and the percentage, because there's certainly an argument that meta search gets your brand exposed to people that wouldn't have been even had you in their decision set had you not been on those channels. So, you know, I think you've got to look at, like Max is saying, multiple touch points. Where are they falling throughout the funnel? I think you'll find that TripAdvisor, Google Hotel ads, maybe even we have very few clients that are even using Kayak anymore because it's just we found it hasn't been necessary. You know, it's just. But I think you've got to look at it in context. I really like the concept of looking at Google as an entire ecosystem, but you really should do that as in your marketing in general, right? All of these things add up. You know, we know that advertising works. Some works better than others, but yeah, I think you should definitely be in those spaces and trying to measure it effectively.
So I need to go. This is my time to bail. So it's a pleasure.
To be honest, we were actually at a 2-hour mark, and I was like, oh my gosh, we just blew through 2 hours wonderfully well and smooth, and I don't want to take too much more time away for it. But Max, if you'd like to finish your idea, or Val, do you need to leave the second, or so that we can know if we can find you? Second,
but if we wind up shortly, then I'll be good.
Yeah, if we wrap up at Max's last statement, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, just when people go to Google and search for hotels, they want to see 4 things: location. Google provides perfect information about location, Google Maps, and everything else. Brand affiliation. Is this independent? Is this belong to my favorite brand? Let's say Hilton, for example, or Marriott, whatever it is, or brand affiliation. Then you have the physical plant, information about the physical plant. Is it a 1,500 room hotel or 1,800 room hotel like Hilton, 6th Avenue, New York City, or is it a boutique hotel of 52 rooms? I mean, there's a major difference. There are people that prefer one versus the other. And then the last point, price and availability. Is this a $100 hotel or is it a $500 hotel? So Google has succeeded.
I'd say quality too, right? They're looking more and more at the reviews on Google as well.
But by the way, the reviews are like a summary of all of the above.
Right.
So the reviews are like they summarize the experiences because of everything else. So that's my point, that the 4 pillars, if you will, how people research hotels on Google. And so Google hotel price ads, the HPAs, are a very nice component as part of the bigger picture. That's my point. Yeah. So that's why you have to be there.
And it's have to be there. I don't know if you guys touched on the announcements this week with the hotel campaigns, but that's really exciting for us. You know, just giving us a lot more control and flexibility. They've rolled some things into GHA over the last 6 months or so that give us, you know, campaigns within GHA, but actually rolling the whole platform into what's now called Google Ads is going to make our lives a whole lot easier in terms of how to target and segment and run independent campaigns with promotions and things like that. So,
well, it's almost the integration of AdWords, the hotel price ads, and even like DoubleClick for publishers, right? It's all getting integrated.
Yeah, so it's a massive shift, a complete overhaul of the whole ecosystem of ads, but I think it's really going to favor the savvy marketers out there in terms of the ability to reach more guests at a more cost-effective rate. It's going to be more work, but I think for those that are willing to roll up the sleeves, it's gonna yield a lot of benefits. In Google Hotel Ads has been good for our clients. Like you said, the return is pretty good, and when you look at it in the bigger picture, it's been really good. But the volume really hasn't been there. If you look at the volume of GHA compared to TripAdvisor for the last 2-3 years, even though GHA has grown, TripAdvisor just has a lot more volume in terms of what it's generating on its Meta platform versus Google. But I think this is the step in the direction where Google's really saying this in the next 12 months. We're taking Google Hotel Ads seriously, and we want to get more volume. We want to do what we've done with flights on the hotel side.
Yeah, we had a discussion.
Jason had one question that I probably to Max about Trivago, but Valen, if you have to leave, if people want to know more about you or what you're doing, where is it they can find you?
You can find me at email valen.perini@nor1.com or www.nor1.com or valen.perini on Twitter. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining, Valen. Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend, Valen.
Actually, I have a second for one last question from Jason. He wants to any value on the Trivago tools.
I don't know. Listen, first of all, let's take a step back. When do you need meta search? What is meta search? Meta search is when you have a tremendous amount of choices and it makes your life easier as a travel consumer. That's what meta search is. So now let's dissect the enormous amount of choices. There are none with the OTA consolidation. Where are the choices?
Right.
You are a travel consumer, because I mean the main thing about meta search is that you can see for the same hotel, the hotel that you have already identified, you can see all the pricing for this hotel. Right. That's what meta search. Because if you're looking for finding a hotel in a destination, then you go to Expedia or you go to Booking.com, because they are far better than a meta search platform to figure out which hotel do you want to stay in a destination, or you go to Google. So my whole point is that meta search is you identify the property and you want to find the best rate for this property. That's how, by the way, the Trivago advertising goes. That's what they focus on. The same is with TripAdvisor, meta search advertising on TV, for example. We search 200 different websites to find the best rate for your hotel.
Yeah,
but
it provides confidence.
And then you look at, and they show on the screen, and the 200, and the question is, guys, we're in this industry. Which of these 200 choices?
Well, no, they're looking at Expedia.br, they're Expedia.
Booking.com. You have Booking.com, you have Expedia, and then all of the owned brands by TripAdvisor. They have Tingo there, and they have Jetsetter.com there, which is they're owned by TripAdvisor. Then you have Hotels.com, Orbitz, Travelocity. People are not that stupid. Travelers have been booking hotels.
People are stupid. They're just predictable, I think, and lazy.
No, people have been booking hotels for 25 years. They see, when they see the same user interface, you go to Expedia,
of course,
and you go through the through the booking path. It's exactly the same as Hotels.com, exactly the same as Orbitz and Travelocity nowadays, because they use the same Expedia platform. My whole point is that the mere reason of having a meta search enabler, if you will, has disappeared from the industry. And this is, by the way, this is what's happening. That's why Trivago, as a standalone, hotel-only meta search, is doomed. It's irrelevant. It will disappear, or it will go to a little corner. By the way, going back to e-commerce and retail, do you know PriceGrabber.com?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Shopzilla.com? Do you know? These guys are the biggest meta search retail shopping engines that nobody knows about. Right. And there are like a few million people using them. So that's the fate of meta search and hospitality. It's becoming already, and it will become a niche product where, yes, there will be some followers. Yes, there will be some people going there, especially in some geographies. For example, Asia Pacific still, Europe still, where they don't maintain rate parity, and so forth. That's still, it will be relevant for a little while there. But ultimately, niche players in a dark corner, used by, certain portion, 5, 6, 7% of travelers, and the story. So
I agree 100%. I think that if you do your marketing well, you don't need to use a standalone meta search like a Trivago or Kayak anymore. I think where meta search, I think, is still relevant is where it's a component within a larger tool. So within TripAdvisor, within the Google platform, there's a component. One little piece of it is a meta search, or even what some of the folks like TripTease are doing, where it's almost like a meta search within your booking engine. That kind of functionality where it's comparing rates. The solution that meta search provided back then is incorporated throughout the journey now. There's no value to the standalone Trivagos because they're not providing value to the hotel. It's not where people discover your brand. Like, an OTA, you can argue they're generating business, but it's also a discovery tool. At the top of the funnel, you'll get an exposure that people aren't going. They're not starting at Trivago. So I agree 100% with Max. It's irrelevant and becoming more so.
Yeah. Well, and
don't waste your money.
And again, you look at Google. Like I'm just looking for a Chicago trip I have to take in September, right? Put it into Google Hotels, and I've got just their top 3, right? Sheraton Grand, $211. Swiss Hotel at $184. DoubleTree by Hilton, $176. You go, okay, well, those are pretty good. Yeah, great. Same dates, the top hotels on TripAdvisor. Holiday Inn Chicago downtown. Lesser hotels in those, $248. Wyndham Grand Chicago Riverfront, $233. Hilton Garden Inn, $206. And you're like, wait a second. Those aren't even, they aren't optimizing the sort order or anything like that compared to what Google, they're just not monetizing the platform. It's it's crazy. So,
but anyway. the main thing, guys, choice of different pricing for the same product. That's what meta search is, and I think that I agree with Stuart. As part of the TripAdvisor ecosystem, with your business listing, with your let's say meta search, with your definitely display advertising that works there, yes, as part of a bigger picture, and then again measuring a blended return on ad spend. The same with Google, it works, but standalone, like Trivago, I don't see a need.
I agree.
Okay. Well, Max, I asked for a half hour and you gave us 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Listen, I have all the time in the world nowadays. So.
All the time.
That's right.
Which means you can always come back and join us. It's always a standing invite. Ever would like to come back.
Listen, no clients. And what was Stuart?
Stuart, what was it?
No clients and no employees. That's
no
the dream.
No clients and no employees.
No employees.
Yeah.
Which is actually the fear that Robert and I both have, is we don't have employees, so we're not worried about that. But the fear of clients,
no clients is a problem. Exactly.
Yeah, but guys, until March 31st, I had 150 employees.
That's right.
Think about it.
That's true.
I built this company
but they're mostly Peter's problem.
Oh, yes. They're somebody else's problem. That's the whole point. So is your official role chairman now? No, I'm a director.
Oh, director.
I'm founder and director.
So he's on the board. So you can just sit back and go, "You're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
do it better." Yeah.
No, listen, I'm too nice. I'm too nice to do this to him, but
exactly.
No, he's doing
Peter's
a good job.
Peter's a really nice guy.
He's doing a good job, and then we have an excellent team. So the team is there. Yeah. People that have been with me for 12, 13, 14 years. They're still there, so no problem.
Max, if people want to find out more about you, or more about, I should say, Hebs at this point, where should they go to find out more information about
your next
writing,
yes.
everything else?
Next guest.
LinkedIn, LinkedIn, just Google Max Starkov or Max at hebsdigital.com or Max Starkov at gmail.com.
Excellent, excellent. And Mr. Stewart, sir, if people want to know more about you and Fuel Travel and your amazingly excellent podcast, which, this is the time to ask Max if he has time in the future to want to hit it with you.
That's true. That'd be a great guest. Fuel Travel, anywhere online, fueltravel.com. You can email us, info@fueltravel. And then the podcast is fueltravel.com/podcast.
Excellent. Mr. Robert, sir, for you and your robotized minions and followers on Rashida.
They are all real people. Amazingly enough, I was really wanting to see that number drop, but no, too many humans there. But Robert K. Cole on social media or rockcheetah.com. You can find me.
And for archives of this show, you can go to hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/153, which is the episode. We're coming up on our 3-year anniversary in a few. Next week, we have Katya from Alhoa. She's VP of Education and Content Development for Alhoa, Asian American Hotel Owners Association. She'll be joining us next week as guest host. And after that, we have Brian Weiss from Infor, which will be after that. And then we have our 3rd-year anniversary. But Max, please, it's a genuine and sincere. Anytime you would like to spend time with us, you're always a welcome guest. Just let us know. We'll add you into the perpetual email send. So if we can ever be having you on the show, it would be wonderful to have. It would be fun to see you and Ed on the same show. So when we get him off the Mai Tai circuit on his vacation.
Absolutely. Listen, I think that Stuart and myself, as European transplants here,
that's right,
can teach the local audiences about few tricks.
I like it.
Anyway.
Well,
and Euro-Asian.
Lauren and me can teach you about America.
I don't know. I think we're getting taught ourselves what exactly that is these days. Yeah. Anyway,
okay, guys.
Gentlemen,
pleasure.
Thank you very much, Max. Thank you so much for everything.
Thanks, Max.
Also for Alan for joining and Holly as well. Thank you, everybody. And for everyone else that joined us on the different platforms, thank you. And we look forward to episode number 154 next week, Friday, 11:30. So until then, thank you, everyone. Bye now.